But if there is a contest, just to be clear with you, then yes, I will run, I will stand, and I've said repeatedly, I'm not going to walk away from that.
But I do say to my own party, this is a final chance to change. This is what people said directly to me on the hundreds of doorsteps that I stood on. We must hear it. We must act upon it, and we must get it right. There will be no second chance.
Is pressure really building on Keir Starmer to step down as Prime Minister this weekend? Or is this a political storm still unfolding behind the scenes? Within Labour, reports of leadership tension are growing, with pressure allegedly intensifying around Starmer's position. Could a potential leadership challenge be forming, as figures like Andy Burnham are mentioned in the growing speculation? And as calls for an exit this weekend circulate, is this the beginning of a wider internal revolt, or just political noise reaching a peak? British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is facing growing calls to resign from within the Labour Party. The pressure is reportedly building as internal divisions deepen. The pressure has intensified following Labour's heavy losses in local elections earlier this year. The results have sparked renewed criticism of the party's leadership and direction. Labour is reported to have lost nearly 1,500 seats in the May local election results. The scale of the losses has fueled debate within the party. Tensions within Labour grew further after Andy Burnham won the Makerfield by-election. The result is being seen by some party figures as a potential turning point. The outcome is now being viewed by many Labour members as a rallying point for change. It has encouraged discussions about possible leadership alternatives. Reports suggest that up to 200 Labour MPs could support Burnham in a potential leadership bid. That level of backing would represent a significant bloc within the parliamentary party. That figure would amount to nearly half of Labour's members in the House of Commons. Such support could make any leadership challenge highly consequential. A cabinet source said some ministers may urge Starmer not to contest any leadership challenge, according to reports. However, Starmer has rejected calls to step down and said he would contest any leadership challenge. He has maintained that he intends to remain in office. He warned that a leadership contest could plunge both the party and the government into chaos. Starmer argued that internal conflict could weaken Labour's ability to govern.
There isn't a leadership contest.
But when there is,
at
it's
the
imminent,
moment.
Prime Minister,
There
isn't
isn't one at the moment. But as I've said on many, many occasions, I don't think that's a good thing for the country to plunge us into chaos. I would also add that now that Andy has won, which is really important, really good, he's a huge asset to us, then now will inevitably be a Manchester mayoralty by-election starting straight away. So it's important that we pull together for that. But if there is a contest, just to be clear with you, then yes, I will run, I will stand, and I've said repeatedly, I'm not going to walk away from that.
This comes as senior party figures are reportedly seeking a dignified and orderly leadership transition within the Labour Party. The discussions reflect growing concern about internal stability. Some members of Parliament have told reporters that Keir Starmer should do the right thing and step aside this weekend. The comments indicate increasing pressure from within the party ranks. Andy Burnham said the by-election represented Labour's final chance to build a new kind of politics. His remarks have added momentum to leadership speculation.
Everyone knows that politics isn't working. Everyone can feel that the country isn't where it should be. Tonight just could, be the turning point. But I do say to my own party, this is a final chance to change. This is what people said directly to me on the hundreds of doorsteps that I stood on. We must hear it. We must act upon it, and we must get it right. There will be no second chance. But it is a chance now, from this result tonight, to build a new politics based on unity and hope, turning away from the path that takes us to a divided, dark politics of the kind we see in the United States.
This situation is unfolding as Starmer's popularity has reportedly fallen amid economic strain and ongoing political controversies. The challenges have contributed to a more difficult political environment for the leadership. A recent YouGov poll reportedly put Starmer's approval rating at just 18%, according to RT News. The figure has been widely discussed within political commentary circles. While an Ipsos survey found that Andy Burnham is currently Labour's most popular political figure. The result has further fueled debate about potential future leadership changes. As Keir Starmer's leadership wobbles, the Labour Party is increasingly being forced to consider potential alternatives amid rising internal pressure. After bruising local election losses and controversies that have cost him key allies, Starmer is now facing growing signs of unrest and a possible internal rebellion. However, Starmer has refused to step down and has warned that any leadership challenge could trigger political chaos within the government. At the same time, new candidates are reportedly beginning to emerge within the Labour Party, positioning themselves as possible successors if a leadership contest is triggered. Against this backdrop, attention is now turning to the politicians who could be lining up to become the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Wes Streeting is now widely seen as Labour's strongest centrist contender after his cabinet resignation, instantly vaulting to the top of many bookmakers' lists. A self-described admirer of Tony Blair's political model, he favours pro-business messages and reform-heavy public service agendas that appeal to swing voters. Labour's left accuses his camp of dragging the party too far to the right, warning a Streeting leadership would sideline traditional socialist priorities. He supports NHS reforms that include deeper private sector participation, arguing that ideology should not block solutions to chronic waiting lists. Streeting has frequently clashed in public with striking healthcare workers and trade unions, which could make union backing a key battleground in any contest. His resignation has immediately intensified speculation over looming Labour leadership war, with supporters insisting the party needs his boldness at the top. Allies are pushing for a broad leadership contest featuring multiple serious candidates rather than a coronation, hoping Streeting can emerge from a crowded field. Backers describe him as a sharp communicator with long-standing leadership ambitions, someone who has been quietly preparing for this moment for years. Andy Burnham is seen by many inside and outside the party as Labour's most popular potential successor to Keir Starmer. Burnham presents himself as a pragmatic Labour moderniser, but one rooted firmly in northern, working-class priorities. At the heart of his pitch is a vow to take the Manchester model national, using his record as Metro Mayor to argue for devolved power, stronger city region leadership. Burnham is openly critical of what he calls out-of-touch Westminster politics, casting himself as a leader who is closer to everyday life than London elites. Economically, he emphasises investment-led growth over harsh austerity, arguing for better public transport, serious housing reform, and long-term funding for local services. On health, he signals firm support for the NHS as a publicly owned service, while focusing on practical issues like access, waiting times, and the crisis in social care. Politically, Burnham is selling himself as the only figure who can genuinely reunite Labour's left, soft left and centrists behind a single project. And his loyalists present him as an experienced former cabinet minister and Metro Mayor, who has already been battle-tested in government and City Hall. Angela Rayner has built her political brand through the trade unions and direct, working-class messaging that resonates far beyond Westminster. Her style often contrasts sharply with Starmer's loyally caution, giving some voters a sense of authenticity and plain speaking they feel is missing at the top. She resigned from government after a row over tax and second home arrangements, a saga that temporarily stalled her leadership prospects. Britain's tax authority later cleared her of deliberate wrongdoing, a finding her supporters say removes the biggest obstacle to a future leadership bid. Many in the party's left and grassroots now believe her ambitions could revive, especially if members want a leader who sounds like them. She still enjoys strong support across Labour's traditional left-wing base, including activists who feel sidelined under Starmer. Analysts describe her image as distinctly working-class and relatable, an asset in red wall seats where Labour has struggled to reconnect. Ed Miliband currently oversees the government's energy and climate agenda, giving him a key role in Britain's transition to net zero. He previously led Labour into the 2015 election, suffering a heavy defeat that helped set the stage for the Brexit and Corbyn years. That loss unleashed years of internal turmoil, and some in the party still link his leadership to the instability that followed. Miliband remains a strong advocate of bold net zero and clean energy policies, arguing they are central to Britain's future prosperity. A number of Labour figures still value his experience, especially as global crises stack up and energy security rises to the top of the agenda. But critics say the memory of his 2015 defeat has permanently damaged his public credibility as a potential Prime Minister. Any fresh leadership bid from him could reopen deep ideological fault lines inside Labour, reviving old battles between centrist and left factions. For now, he remains more of an outsider candidate in leadership gossip, present in the conversation, but not the obvious frontrunner. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper is widely seen as a safe pair of hands within the Labour Party leadership circle, although she has remained deliberately cautious and publicly coy about any interest in taking the top job. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood is also being mentioned in leadership discussions, but she has so far shown little appetite or urgency to launch a challenge at this stage.